morning, ladies and gentlemen, friends and families. On behalf of Brigadier General Jason A. Curl, Commanding General of the Joint Raiders Training Center and Fort Johnson, and Command Sergeant Major Horacio Pena, welcome to the post-redesignation ceremony honoring General James H. Polk. Please stand for the national anthem and remain standing for the invocation given by the Joint Raiders Training Center and Fort Johnson Installation Chaplain, Colonel John V. Ijeoma.
Please pray with me. Eternal God, sovereign of all nations, as we gather here to mark the redesignation of this proud military installation, we pause to give thanks for its legacy, its mission, and for the men and women who have walked its grounds in service to freedom and peace. We honor the past, the sacrifices made, the values upheld, the victories earned in defense of our nation. We do not erase history, but build upon it, preserving what is noble and advancing what is just. Today, with this new name and renewed identity, we embrace the future. May this redesignation reflect a spirit of unity, dignity, and purpose. May it inspire all who serve here to uphold the highest traditions of military excellence, integrity, and respect. Bless this place and those who lead, live, and labor here. Strengthen them for the mission ahead. Let this installation stand as a beacon of resolve and a reminder of ideals we are called to defend. Grant us wisdom to remember our heritage, courage to face change, and grace to move forward in strength and honor. Amen.
Please be seated. Among our distinguished guests for today's ceremony are the family of General Retired James H. Polk, James H. Polk III, son of General Polk, Josephine Polk Schwartz, daughter of General Polk, Josephine's sons, James Polk Schwartz and his wife Joy, and Jonathan Schwartz III, General Polk's sister, Ann Polk Talbot, and her husband, George Talbot. Miss Whitney Lambright and Miss Donna Howe, Speaker Mike Johnson's office. Miss Tommy Seaton, Senator Bill Cassidy's office. Mr. Dane Guidry, Congresswoman Julia Letlow's office. Senator Mike Reese, Louisiana 30th District. Representative Charles Owen, Louisiana 30th District. Mayor Michael Harris, DeRitter. Mayor Keith Lewing, Anacoco. Mayor Vicki Staniford, Simpson. Mayor Donna Duvall, Rosepine. Louisiana Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Colonel Retired Charlton McGinley, and Deputy Secretary Dr. Jerome Buller. Mr. Philip Hunt, Mayor Pro Temp Leesville, and members of the Fort Polk Heritage families. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the top of the building for the unveiling. 3, 2, 1. Effective 11 June 2025, Fort Johnson is redesignated as Fort Polk in honor of General James H. Polk, under the command jurisdiction of the Commanding General, United States Army Forces Command. Signed, the Honorable Dan Driscoll, Secretary of the Army. At this time, the Polk family, escorted by Brigadier General Curl and Command Sergeant Major Pena, will now unveil the portrait of General Polk. The portrait will be centered under the entranceway to the JRTC and Fort Polk Headquarters building. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the rendering of honors to General Retired James H. Polk. Honors will be fired by Bravo Battery 525 Artillery Battalion, 3rd Brigade, 10th Mountain Division. As a reminder, uniformed service members will salute upon the first cannon report. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the son of General Polk, James H. Polk III.
My thanks. Can you hear me? To Brigadier General Curl and to your staff for putting this beautiful and memorable event together, and other attending dignitaries that are here today with us. It's a great pleasure for me and my sister Jody and her two sons, John and Jimmy Schwartz, and Jimmy's wife, Joy, to be here with us, and also my cousin, Ann Talbot, Ann Polk Talbot, and her husband, George, from Pine Bluff. To be here today, of course, is a special occasion, the redesignation ceremony after our father, General James H. Polk. We know he would be extremely proud and honored, as we are, to have this historic Army post and training area named after him. His dedication and service to our country and his patriotism has always been an inspiration to our family and to all who knew him. Indeed, our admiration for his life and accomplishments in the U.S. Army have continued to increase since his death over 30 years ago. The span of his career and the great events of the 20th century that he witnessed and participated in is truly remarkable. In 1933, as a newly commissioned West Point second lieutenant, he was in the Horse Cavalry at Fort Bliss, Texas, where he met our mother, Joey Level, in El Paso. The invasion of Normandy in June 1944 on Utah Beach and the defeat of the fascist Nazi army as commander of the 3rd U.S. Cav, spearheading George Patton's 3rd Army across France and Germany. Serving in an intelligence role in 1950 and 51 during the Korean War under General MacArthur and General Ammen in the 10th Corps to stop the Red Chinese Army. And then 15 years, more or less, in various NATO jobs, ending in 1971 as commander of U.S. Army Europe and Central Army Group, facing the Warsaw Pact armies during the Cold War and the very real threat of the use of nuclear weapons. By his side, through it all, after 28 moves and 55 years of marriage, was our mother, Josephine Joy Polk. She was an exemplary Army wife, always with him, always supporting him to her utmost in his various roles and commands. We would like to pay tribute to her today. There's no doubt our father's Army career would not have succeeded without her support. And I know she'd be very proud of this event today, and I think could take a small measure of credit for it occurring. We'd also like to honor the legacy and spirit of Sergeant Henry Johnson and his heroic record in World War I as a posthumous recipient of the Medal of Honor. We know that our father would want that and expect that Sergeant Johnson continued to be remembered at Fort Polk and by the U.S. Army as the great hero that he was. Finally, on a more personal note, my father had many attributes. He was a great student of history. He even had the ability to quote Shakespeare from time to time. But he also had very inspiring sayings that he'd come up with, some of which still stick with me. One of them is, "Don't take counsel of your fears. Don't take counsel of your fears. I've never forgotten that. Hard to live up to sometimes, but I'm not sure where that came from, but it highlights to me his fearless and positive approach to life as a military man of action, always stepping up, always moving ahead, no matter what the challenge. Thank you again on behalf of the Polk family for this great honor in redesignating Fort Polk in memory of our father, General James H. Polk. Thank you.
At this time, Chief Master Fleet Wesley Justman will present ceremonial casings to the family of General James H. Polk on behalf of Brigadier General Jason Curl, Command Sergeant Major Horacio Pena, and all soldiers, families, and civilians on Fort Polk, thanking them for their participation in today's historical event. A ceremonial described as the first artillery round fired at Fort Polk, Louisiana, 11 July 2025, is being presented to Brigadier General Pearl and will be placed in the Joint Range Training Center in Fort Polk Headquarters building. At this time, Brigadier General Curl will present the family of General Polk with the first flag flown over Fort Polk to further commemorate this historic day. Ladies and gentlemen, our host for today's ceremony, the Joint Readiness Training Center in Fort Polk, Commanding General, Brigadier General Jason A. Curl.
Good morning, distinguished guests, soldiers, veterans, families, and members of our proud Fort Polk community. Thank you all for joining us on this historic day. A day that reflects the unwavering commitment to honoring the legacies that forged the fighting spirit of our Army. Today, we stand on ground made sacred by generations of Americans who answered their nation's call to serve. Since its establishment in 1941, Fort Polk has been a cornerstone of Army readiness, where soldiers have honed their skills and prepared for the demands of combat in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and every conflict since. Here at the Joint Readiness Training Center, units are forged into disciplined, lethal teams ready to fight any adversary anywhere in the world. In 2023, this installation was redesignated Fort Johnson in honor of Sergeant William Henry Johnson, an American hero whose story demanded to be told. Sergeant Johnson, a member of the legendary Harlem Hellfighters, exemplified valor beyond measure. In May 1918, armed with little more than courage, a rifle, and a bolo knife, he single-handedly repelled a German raiding party and saved his soldiers' lives. His sacrifice and service resonated across decades, inspiring soldiers of every generation to embody what we call uncommon valor. In naming this installation after him, we ensured that every soldier who trains here understands that readiness is built on grit, determination, and courage to do what's right, even when no one is watching. Today, we are also privileged to announce that we will dedicate our installation post-exchange as the Sergeant William Henry Johnson Exchange on 24 July. His name will remain a living history, a living part of our history, and the strength of character of those who serve. Today, we are also honored by another legacy. In designating this installation as Fort Polk, we recognize the extraordinary career and leadership of General James H. Polk, a soldier whose life defined commitment to country, excellence in command, and devotion to soldiers and families. General Polk earned his commission in 1933 and rose through the ranks in an army that would soon be tested in the fires of a global war. As a cavalry officer during the Second World War, he commanded the 3rd Mechanized Cavalry Group in combat across France and Germany. For his leadership and gallantry in battle, he was awarded 2 Silver Stars, among many other decorations. His courage under fire was not simply a testament to his skill as a commander, but proof of his unbreakable warrior spirit that inspired every man under his command. His son Jamie, who you just heard from, captured the essence of those days in his book letters from World War II, writing, "My father never saw himself as a hero. He saw himself as a leader entrusted with the lives of his men and believed their courage was the real story." Here at Fort Polk and the Joint Readiness Training Center, we carry that same conviction forward. We forge the warrior spirit by pushing soldiers beyond what they think is possible. We train them to fight with discipline, lead with integrity, and stand ready to defend freedom wherever it is threatened. To forge the warrior spirit means preparing soldiers to endure hardship without losing heart, to remain resolute when the stakes are highest, and to fight with honor no matter how fierce the battle. That spirit is woven into this installation's identity because it is the spirit that General Polk exemplified on the battlefields of Europe and across his remarkable career. Today, we are especially honored to be joined by members of the Polk family. His son, Mr. James Polk, his daughter, Mrs. Jody Schwartz, and all of the other aforementioned family members. Your presence here affirms that this legacy is not just about history, it is about the living connection between the past and the soldiers who carry that mission forward. Today, you are forever part of the Fort Polk family. General Polk once said, "Preparedness is not merely in training, but it is resolved to meet any challenge with confidence and conviction." That resolve is the foundation of our mission here at the Joint Readiness Training Center. We forge soldiers who are ready to fight and win our nation's wars, but also prepared to lead with discipline, integrity, and the strength to do what is required, even in the most unforgiving conditions. Here at Fort Polk, readiness is not an aspiration, it is our solemn duty. It is a promise we make with every American who trusts their sons and daughters in this Army. It is the commitment we carry forward in honor of those who built this legacy before us. Today, as we raise this new name over our gates, we affirm that Fort Polk is far more than an installation. It is a crucible of readiness, a proving ground where soldiers are forged into cohesive, lethal teams, and where leaders are shaped by the values of service and sacrifice. The legacies of Sergeant William Henry Johnson and General James H. Polk remind us that greatness is never given. It is earned through character, commitment, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. May this installation forever stand as a testament to their courage, their leadership, and their devotion to country. Thank you, and may God bless our soldiers, our families, and the United States of America. All the way, forging the warrior spirit.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the Army. That concludes today's ceremony. On behalf of Brigadier General Jason Curl, thank you all for attending this historic event. Once again, welcome to Fort Polk and have a great Team Polk Day.